It's lights out and welcome back everybody to the Low Downforce podcast, the For Friend Formula One podcast. It is finally race week. It is finally the beginning of the 2025 Formula One season, a season that has a ton of hype coming. We know that there's two championships in play in Formula One. Of course, there's the Drivers' Championship and there is the Constructors' Championship, which of course is for the best team. But here at Low Downforce, we have something called the Predictors Championship as well. That's right. We make our best guesses every week of the season, how each race is going to go, who's going to do well, who's going to do not so well. The likes will critique, will comment, will guess. We are not experts. We are not professionals. We are waffling out of our asses. So it's everybody's best guess. And again, it's going to be a hyped up season, so hopefully predictions will be difficult. Hopefully everybody's best guess will be interesting and in play all the time. But we're coming now before the season even starts. Oh, I'm so excited. I'm rushing through that we are going to do some full season-long predictions. We will revisit our guesses after the last race, after Abu Dhabi in December of this year, to see if our predictions in this episode are correct and can they help us out in the Predictors Championship. So I've got Matt here, I've got J9 here, and I've got Josh who's going to kind of break down what the Predictors Championship is if you are new. We did this last year. We are upgrading this year.
Yeah, last year we had lots of ups and downs, and we're going to change things up about what we pick week to week, which we'll get into more when we make the race predictions. For now, we're just doing the season predictions. Last year, we would predict the top three in qualifying, the top three in the race, P10 in the race, getting that last point, and a hot take. We're going to change it up a little bit this year, but we had some great predictions last year and some horrendous predictions last year.
Yes, sir.
And in the end, it was pretty close for at least Ben and I. Ben got the narrow victory.
My hot takes are always spicier than y'all's hot takes.
But you notice Matt chimed in when he's like, some people had bad guesses, and Matt's like, yes, sir.
Yeah. Matt ended with just 60.5 points last year compared to Ben in the lead with 77 points. But it's a fresh slate, new season, and these season-long predictions are going to be worth more. So they're going to be 3 each. So at the end of the season, even if you're behind Matt or any of us, if you get all these ones right, you could jump straight to the top. So, well, actually, in this case, if this happened last year, you wouldn't, but
you'd make it close. Got last year, so I think that's pretty positive, Matt.
Yes. No, we're looking for a good season this season. I think I was very hopeful.
I think literally in the first 24 race season in Formula One, the longest season in Formula One history, our Predictors Championship was decided by 1 point, I think, Josh. Like, it was literally that close. And this season has all of the characteristics that suggest that the guesses are going to be crazy. We're not going to know for certain who's going to win, who's going to qualify on pole, that sort of thing. So everybody's going to be in it. And like Josh said, we have 4 categories unique to this episode. Obviously, the race-specific predictions will be different, but we have 4 today, 3 points apiece, which means if you're within 12 points, you are fully alive all the way down to the wire. So I think it's time to get right into it. Might as well. We're buzzing, we're itching, we're ready to go. Glory in Formula One is the World Drivers' Championship. We have been graced by Max Verstappen's presence the last 4 years now. But the writing on the wall suggests that might be changing. So I pose to you all, starting with J9 first, who is going to win the World Drivers' Championship in 2025?
Man, I had a hard time with this one because I think that last year we really saw a change in dynamics in Formula One with kind of the Verstappen and Hamilton era not ending, but just changing. And we saw a lot of McLaren and Ferrari kind of come in and win. Even with Russell from Mercedes coming in and winning one race. So, you know, I had a hard time with this. I did pick Lando, which is surprising coming from me. I know I'm usually not one to pick a McLaren driver, but I did think Lando had such a impactful season last year, and if there had just been like 5 more races, I think he would have beat Verstappen, no question. And Verstappen really got so many of his points last season at the beginning of the season, and then it just kind of all went downhill from there. So I think it's going to be very contentious. I think it's not going to be a very clear winner as we go through the season, but I think Lando's going to really pull out with the win.
I have to agree, to be honest. I mean, not only am I a Lando Norris and McLaren fan, Vegas has Lando pinned. It's just, I think that shift in dynamics that you're mentioning, J9, is really a momentum swing that I don't think any of us anticipated. And as we continue to see that progress or not, right? I do think, though, that Lando is itching for this. He's probably had a very, very busy offseason getting ready for this. I know, obviously, like, we see the preseason testing, but I think Lando's been putting in the work, and I can't wait to see him end up on top this year.
I have been a noted Lando Norris hater over the past year during this podcast. And if it's not a Ferrari driver to win the World Drivers' Championship, I would actually be rooting for Max Verstappen here. But
that's insane.
I think McLaren's car is going to be too good to start the season. I think with everybody turning their focus onto 2026 development, I think McLaren's starting in the best place, and I think Lando will be good enough, even though he'll probably bottle some races like he always does, that I am also going to go with
this
Lando,
guy,
unfortunately.
So I guess really there's only potentially 9 points up for grabs at the end of the season, because I have gone for Lando Norris as well. I mean, I'm rocking the hat right now. I have to support Lando, but I also, like Josh, you're mentioning, like, he bottled some stuff last year. He got a lot of criticism, some fair, some probably trending towards extreme. But I almost think, at least what we're hearing out of preseason testing, the trajectory McLaren was on, they're going to have a fast car, likely the fastest car. I think that this is like Lando's make or break year, because last year was his first chance really fighting for a championship. And credit where credit's due, he won the race at the end of the year to win the Constructors' Championship for the team. He just came up short in the drivers. But if McLaren has the fastest car again, Lando can't be making the same mistakes twice. Because if you're in the best car and you've supposedly learned and gotten the experience of fighting at the front, which is something that McLaren as a team and Lando as a driver struggled with at points during last season, if he can't step up and prove that he's championship caliber this year, then I don't know what necessarily gets him over the hump. So it seems like we're all in agreement here. Like you said, Matt, he's the Vegas favorite. It seems like the cards are aligning, the stars are aligning, but like we said, who knows what's actually going to happen? We will have to wait and see. But that's not the only championship up for grabs. Of course, I mentioned McLaren won the Constructors' Championship last year, even if Max won the Drivers' Championship last year. So there is room for variance. Starting with you, Matt, who do you think is going to win the Constructors' Championship this year?
Papaya all the way. It's so easy for me to say as a fan that would be my decision. But again, looking at the performance of the team, the trajectory of the team, I don't only see Lando being the drivers' champion. I see Oscar having just a stellar year. Both of them having won their very first Grand Prix last season, and there were multiple that went to McLaren. I don't think that's slowing down anytime soon.
Yeah, you went with your favorite team. I'm going with my favorite team, Ferrari. And I think it's because of the driver pairing. I think they're going to have the second fastest car behind McLaren, and I think it will be narrowly behind McLaren. And when you have 7-time world champion Lewis Hamilton getting back in a competitive car alongside Charles Leclerc, who's been at this Ferrari project for the majority of his career.
He's the golden boy.
He's the golden boy. I think they're going to put it together, and I think they were second in the Constructors last year. They had a chance going into the final race to win it. So I think that pairing at Ferrari is going to win it.
I totally agree, Josh.
No Mercedes for you?
I think that Ferrari's going to have it, and I also think putting your bet on this is a little bit more risky, and I'm definitely willing to do it because we don't know how Hamilton's going to drive in the car, but I definitely know that even last year, the engineers were all thinking Hamilton's coming next year. They already knew that. They weren't building a car so Sainz could drive better. They were really seeing, how is our car, how are we thinking our engineering is going to be for next year, and getting that for Hamilton. And so I think everything is going to come together pretty well for them. And just having two really strong drivers behind the wheel, that's going to be awesome.
I'll say normally I run along team lines, but I am going for Ferrari as well because I think deep down as a Ferrari fan, ignore it or not as a Ferrari. Whoa,
you're a Ferrari fan now.
Hey, everyone's a Ferrari fan. As a Formula One fan, and everybody being a Ferrari fan, I think it's really good for the sport because I think a lot of people have said that the cars are so technologically advanced that it's just you have the best car, you win. And I think that as much as some people hated Max's dominance, I think last year proved like the opposite of like didn't have the best car, but the best driver, Max Verstappen, was enough to win the championship. And I think it's the same thing. Ferrari, based on changing their car from last year, is very interested in winning this year, whereas many teams are putting more of their resources into after the regulation change going into not this coming season, but 2026 is I think Ferrari needs to prove that it's a combination of a really good car and the best drivers on the grid. I love Lando. I think Oscar is a great driver as well, but I would say Charles is as good as Lando Norris, maybe a little better, depends on the circumstances. There's no question. Lewis Hamilton is better. Lewis Hamilton is better than anybody else on the grid.
Josh, and I know Max on recording.
I know Max. I know Max has had his dominance recently, but I mean,
are you saying Max is a car merchant?
I mean, statistically, look at Lewis's career: most wins, most podiums. I mean, he's got more like podiums than he has like non-points finishes. Like it's
the crazy thing here though is Max had the best car during these regulations up until this past season, and that's when he was so dominant. When Lewis was at his best, they were in the best car, and they were the best car by a mile. So now that we're at the end of the regulation cycle and all the cars are closer to a level playing field, it'll be really interesting to see who's the best driver in their car.
Yeah, but it's the type of thing where it's like, I think, like I said, I think Lando's going to win the Constructors' Championship. I think it's going to be the type of thing where McLaren and Ferrari are going to be getting the bulk of wins. I just see Lewis and Charles grabbing P2s and P3s more than I see Oscar maybe doing the same, and I think that's why they slightly edge it out. And like I said,
remember that when you make your predictions throughout the season. Keep putting Ferrari.
I will not. I will drink the Kool-Aid, the papaya-colored Kool-Aid, as soon as the lights go out in Australia. But all right, so Matt, this is your chance. If you have terrible picks again this year, then if McLaren wins the Constructors' Championship, you're going to cash in 3 points on the rest of us at the end of the year.
To be fair, I thought it would go to the last race. I think it's going to be a neck and neck for them too. So if you guys win, I'm not surprised.
I do think it's going to be a great year. And one of the other things that's going to make it a great year is that there are, I would say 6, but realistically there are 5 rookies on the grid this year. If you count Liam Lawson, he hasn't had a full season in Formula One, but he's met like the 8 race threshold or whatever they actually consider. So there's Liam Lawson and then 5 true rookies, a couple who have had a little F1 experience, a couple that haven't had any experience at all. This category, I'm going to try and make it as not confusing as possible, but what is going to be the best rookie finishing position during a race this year? You can tell me who you think it is. That does not matter, but you will get the 3 points. If you can say, oh, I think that, it's going to be a rookie's going to win a race, then you would say P1. You would say they would win a race. If you think they're going to get P3, if you think they're only going to get P8, that's up to you. I think we might have a little more diversity here than we did for
Liam
our first
Lawson
two
considered a rookie for this or no?
What do you guys think? I would say yes.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. Yep. That makes my answer a lot easier, and I think some of us might have the same answer then.
All right, then, Josh, kick us off. Again, you can say who you think it's going to be with no penalty if that's wrong. It's just the position that will get you the points.
With Lawson in, I'm much more confident in picking P1 as the best rookie finish. I think it's between him and Kimi Antonelli in Mercedes, and I think one of the two of them will go on to win a race this year because they're in one of the cars of the top team. And I think at some point throughout the season, they'll figure out the car. They're obviously both. Liam Lawson has some Formula One experience. Antonelli is maybe the most hyped driving prospect since Max Verstappen. So yeah, I think with the two of them in great cars, I think one of them is going to win a race.
I'm
That
going
would
to agree
be
on the Liam
electric.
Lawson, but I don't know about a P1 finish. I think Liam's going to get on the podium. I'm going to say a P3, but I think we have such a strong lineup of veteran drivers who are in the fastest cars on the grid. I think it's going to be very competitive for Liam Lawson. In my thinking, Liam has to beat Verstappen, and that's even a huge feat, let alone Hamilton, Leclerc,
Checo
even
used to win
Sainz. Like,
races.
there are just so many others
Checo used to win
that I
races.
just don't think they're going to have Liam try to beat Max unless Max is completely out.
I have also gone for P3, but with Kimi Antonelli. I think Liam Lawson is going to stink this year. And it's the type of thing where I mean, if we're talking about, I expect this year's Red Bull to be more similar to last year's Red Bull than the year before that. Like, I think that if we're looking at the most recent season, like Checo had a decent start because the Red Bull was the best car for the first 5-6 races of the season. But for the bulk of the season, once McLaren and Ferrari, mind you, both made it past Red Bull, Checo was nowhere to be. Well, but Checo was nowhere to be found. And I don't think that effectively a rookie Liam Lawson is going to do better than Checo in a car that is notoriously difficult to drive because they just favor Max Verstappen. And to J9's point, echoing that, is for a rookie to win a race, I mean, crazy things happen, but that means Max Verstappen didn't win that race, neither McLaren, neither Ferrari, George Russell. I think it would take a lot for a rookie to win a race, but I do see a rookie podium. I'm just thinking it's Kimi Antonelli.
Yeah, I thought the same, to be honest. And having seen two of you go P3 and one go P1, I am switching up my answer from P3 to P2. I really do think that there will be a driver who gets not just, edged onto the podium. I don't think any rookie is going to win. So, yeah, I did have Kimi as my one driver who'd make it there. But obviously, we're not going for points there. That might go in my favor. So, yeah, no, I think P2 is where it lands.
Think of how many drivers won races last year. You're telling me that you're not going to have a driver from all four top teams? Or I think Oscar and Lando will probably win a race. I think Charles and Lewis will win a race. And then I think at least Red Bull or Mercedes is going to have both drivers finish first. So there we go.
Fair enough.
I mean,
With
it would be
how competitive the sport is right now.
Maybe not.
It would be
Maybe
your
not.
words to the racing god's ears, because what you're saying is another season of 7 different winners, which would be beyond electric. We saw how much hype built throughout last season, and it seems like we're hoping that it's going to continue again this year. Now we have our last prediction category, and I think that this might actually be a good prediction for the first time in a while.
Mm-hmm.
So it's the best of the rest category. So we know we've talked a lot about the McLarens, the Ferraris, the Mercedes, the Red Bulls. Brand-wise, budget-wise, fame-wise, all of it, they're just on a level above everybody else right now. And it's shown recently when you look at the Constructors' Championship standings, they dominate. Recently, though, Aston Martin has kind of been in no man's land where they're not good enough to compete with the Big Four, but they're definitely better than the bottom half of the teams. This year, especially looking at the totally meaningless preseason testing data, it seems like 5th place in the Constructors' Championship could be up for grabs. I think that with 4 teams fighting at the front, points are going to be a lot harder to come by for everybody else, which means that it could be neck and neck all the way through the season, multiple contenders. So maybe this will turn out to be a terrible prediction category, but as it stands right now, it could be interesting. Best of the rest, who do you think is going to finish P5 in the Constructors' Championship? J9, you want to start us off?
I actually do, and I'm kind of excited for this one. I've chosen Williams. I think Sainz is going to be electric in that position along with Alex Albon. We've talked about how the strategy there of having Sainz really kind of push Albon along and how he's been developing these past few years. I think that team is going to be a very interesting one to see. I know as an organization, they've been really looking more towards data analytics and innovation. I mean, all teams really have, but they've really been doing kind of like a big transformation overall, trying to break away from who they've been in the past. And I just think that it's nothing but up from there for this team. And to get Sainz there, that's really putting a lot of money behind a good driver. And as an organization, once you do that, things I'm hoping are going to fall into place, from everything from the engineering standpoint to the corporate sponsorship standpoint. And that just really pushes a team and drivers to do better and better and better. So I really think that Williams is going to grab that 5th spot.
Yeah, I have to agree. Yeah, I mean, you hit the nail on the head, J9. But yeah, 2 reasons for me. Carlos Sainz, and I'm getting a thumbs up from my MacBook. That's always fun. But also just the team history. I think that this is a team that has been itching to get back to that forefront of racing. And I don't think that they can outperform necessarily any of the top 4. But I see them really, really pushing. And I know, Ben, you mentioned like preseason testing doesn't matter that much. They still looked fast. And
they were almost a second faster, their fastest lap in preseason testing, than their actual qualifying time at Bahrain last year. So everybody improves. If you're standing still in Formula One, you're going backwards. But Williams is cashing in on finally ditching Microsoft Excel, I believe.
Yeah. But Sainz, I think he got the fastest lap in all of preseason testing, right?
He did.
Yeah.
Ben, how you feeling?
I'm going to agree. I was thinking about changing it just to have diversity, which means J9, you and I have the exact same predictions all the way through. Yeah. I want to believe it, and it's kind of the same argument I said with Ferrari winning the Constructors' Championship of it's good car and great drivers, and I don't think there's a question if you look at, even if you consider the top teams, Williams has one of the best racing lineups or driver lineups this year, adding Carlos Sainz, adding Alex Albon. Obviously, it's a test year to see how good Alex Albon actually is, having his first real challenging teammate. But I'm kind of in the belief that if all the midfield cars are similar, then it's going to be the drivers who stand out. And Williams just has that it factor in their lineup.
I am not going to pick Williams. I'm not. But here's why. I think they're going to be focused too much on 2026. I think with so much regulation change, I think many of these bottom teams are going to be focused on 2026 development. So I'm kind of going with the same strategy of why I picked Lando Norris to win the Drivers' Championship. I think Aston Martin is starting from the best place, and they're bringing in Adrian Newey, who will most likely work on the 2026 car, but I'm sure he could help with an upgrade here or there, just a small tweak that will push Aston Martin to just being that best midfield team kind of stuck in the middle. And so I'm going with them. And also, side note, I think Alex Albon might get exposed by Carlos Sainz this year. And he's one of my favorite drivers on the grid, but I just think there's a chance that Carlos comes in, completely outdrives him, and then Williams exercises the buyback clause on Franco Colapinto, and Jack Doohan stays at Alpine. Who knows? There's a whole chess game going on in the driver market.
Wow.
But
that's a hot take right there.
I would say 5 steps ahead of everybody. I think that's the thing, though. Like, you hit the nail on the head is Carlos Sainz, I could believe, could like miraculously bag a top 5 finish this year. And like, if you consider the points that the midfield teams are going to have access to this year, you pull one P5, and you got to get points elsewhere, but that's going to shoot you up the leaderboard by itself. So we'll see. Obviously, everything to play for, and that kind of gets us ready. We've got more episodes coming this week, obviously leading up to the Australian Grand Prix. It is finally here. rubber meets road. It will be all electric, all exciting. We will get you ready for that race specifically in another episode, but be sure to check us out on social media, all social media at Low Downforce Pod. We are there. We are learning it. We're going to be better at social media this year, so engage with us. If you want to throw your predictions in these 4 categories, do so. Play along. Can't necessarily say we'll ship you the trophy if you best all 4 of us, but definitely play along. See how you compare to us. Very much not experts, but get ready for the season with us. It's go time. We are almost there. We will see you soon. Until then, stay speedy. Goodbye.